next one I want to go to is talking about if players are in a slump. So, from the coaching side, if you have an individual or more than one even that they're in a slump, or if the team is in a slump or on a losing streak or whatever, so you can deal with those two situations separately or together.
Yeah,
Whatever you
no,
think.
it's the same shit, different pile. Address the elephant in the room, as they say. Right, guys, we're going through one here. We're gonna get out of it right now. Eric, you look like you're squeezing the stick a little bit. Let's get out of this right now. So one could be a mindset, right? So it could be resetting the brain. It's thinking a different way. Maybe you're thinking about it so much that you have to let it go. Like that's the psychology 101. Mental toughness 101 is living in the moment, not dwelling in the past or the future. And typically when you're going through slumps or as a team or as a player, it's like you're thinking too much of either or. If you stay in the moment, probably a fixable solution. So that's number one. Not every coach is a psychologist, and neither am I, but that's the basics, right? I just wanted to clarify that. Right? Um, you know, and so that's that. Then the next thing is tactical. Like that's the next thing is how do you get out of it, right? So whether you're an individual or a team, you go back to basics. So live in the moment, go back to basics. So as an individual, Eric, you're in a slump. What are the 3, 4, 5 things that make you successful as a hockey player? Do it and do it well. Don't overthink. You don't need to score more goals. Just do the basics. A goal scorer that's in a slump, don't worry about scoring the goals as much. Do your habits. Do the 3, 4 things that make you a good hockey player. Maybe it's because you're not doing the defensive side as hard enough. You're not around the pucks, right? So do the 3, 4 things that I always talk about that identify you as a player that gives you success shift after shift. Don't worry about the goals as a team. Okay, so sometimes and by the way, everybody at some point goes through a slump. And I'm not saying that you won't score or you're not going to win, but you take the best team and you might be, just scraping by some of the wins or games where you win 5-0 or 4-0, maybe you're 2-1. So that's like a different type of a slump. It's just you're in a lull, right? Every team has it at some point, and every player has it at some point. So that's where it's like get in the moment, understand that this happens all the time. It's not the end of the world. And there's action steps, right? And the action steps are those tactical things that you do, 3, 4 things that make you a great player or a team, and do them. And that's so you're identifying it, and then you're applying what how to fix it by tactically going back to basics.
Yeah, and I think the tactical part I kind of want to stress for a sec too, because I think the easy, from a coaching perspective, maybe the easy out is the guys, we have to work harder. Guys, we need to, get back to playing our game and like these kinds of things.
Yeah, it's their words.
Yeah, like they don't mean anything. So the action steps is the most important part, like of breaking a slump or a losing streak or whatever. It's like you actually have to do something. You can't just say words.
Your car breaks, you can't just hope it gets better.
Yeah, right? So you can say to a kid, "Hey, make sure that you're living in the moment, son." It's like, what does that mean for a 12-year-old?
But this is why, as a coach, it's so important. Like you give yourself a chance, right? It's like if you don't teach kids or understand that's why reading a book or understanding like the very basics of psychology or mental toughness or whatever. That's why it's important, so that you can actually understand and live it in your own life. Like living in the moment is an actual important thing. So how do you teach that to people? It's like, okay, like it's every shift. It's like playing your shift or doing your thing that you're doing at the time, and then when it's over, refocusing and go to the next one. But whenever you're doing something really well, do it. And then the tactical piece, like I can't overemphasize this. Like I don't know if I could say it enough. Every coach should be able to tell a player, and a player should be able to tell a coach what they're good at doing on the ice, what makes them successful. I'm not saying score goals. That could be a thing, but it's more the habits of a player, habits of a team. So that when shit does go south, like the Navy SEALs say, it's not you don't you don't fall. Basically, your success is the depth of your training. That's
But
that's how
you fall back to the level of your training.
yeah,
But
but there's
still.
a different version that they use, but it's like basically that, like your basics, right? It's the thing that you do day in day and out, day in and day out, that help you win as a person and as a player. That is gonna, the deeper and the more you understand those basics and master them, the more that you're gonna have success when you're in a slump or in your just everyday life, right? So when a player understands that, okay, I need to be a hard forechecker because that's my thing. I need to finish a hit. That's my thing. I need to shoot 3 pucks a period if I can. In my D zone, you have one or two things that are like critical. I got to get back to that X spot and clean pucks out, like get clean exits out. If those are your 4 things that you have to do. It's not, you're not asking yourself to change the world. You're asking yourself to do habits that make your team win. If everyone does their habits, your team is as successful as they can be. Individually, you're successful as you can be. So coaches that don't take the time to identify with kids what their actual strengths are that make them a good hockey player, and players that don't do it, then you have nothing. You know what I mean? You're putting air in a tire. Well, you're not even doing that. You have to have the base to start from.
Yeah, that was very thorough answer, by the way. That was good.
Was it?
Yeah, it was great. Seriously, I don't have anything to add, but that's why I wanted to punch that, the tactical, practical, whatever the term is you want to use, because without the action step, you're just saying things, and a lot of coaches just say things that don't mean anything, and it leaves players unsure because you're not giving them specific things. It's like we were talking about with the talk, well, a couple of the talks that we had about kids starting to get a grasp on roles. Not that you have to have a role when you're 13 or 14, but just you need to know what you're good at. Like, what are you actually good at? What are your strengths as a player? And I find, just from my own experience and then from other talking to players, it's like no one has said this to them before. Like, no one has ever talked to them about this kind of stuff. And it can be super helpful, because then when you do get in a slump or you get in some kind of a pinch, you can fall back on those things, exactly what you're saying, right? So that's a really good strategy for just dealing with it in general, right?
Like I said, I can't overemphasize it. I think you're doing the players a disservice. Like, listen, man, by doing that one exercise with every player, it's going to take you. Let's say you're a youth hockey team. You got 16 guys on 18 guys. Okay, it's not even an hour a kid, so it's not even 18 hours. It's probably not even 9. It's probably about, kids have an attention span of a gnat, so you got about 10 minutes a kid. It's 180 minutes. That 180 minutes invested in, here's what I think of you, here's what you think of yourself, this makes sense, let's go. That gives you ammo for the rest of their life. And conversation pieces, right? If you ever stuck talking to a kid, like here's just a simple thing, right? You're a coach. He's like, I don't know, I'm not really a good motivator. I don't know. Like, if you're doubting yourself, you could always pull out the page and say, oh, okay, we're going to go through this again. Eric, just come in the office there after, or go meet me in the hallway. So, hey, I just pulled out your identity thing. How do you think we're doing? It's a conversation. Kid goes, oh yeah. I forgot. I'm supposed to compete.
Yeah. Right.
Right. It's not about goals. Remember, it's about this, and this.
Yeah.
That's all.
Perfect.